former Italian Under-Secretary of State for Economic Development. Michele, thank you so much indeed for your time. Is it possible for you to be neutral on this because of your former position? Are countries like Italy and Spain asking too much, or are other countries not making enough compromises?
I will try to be neutral, like you said, despite my former job in the government. But as an economist, as a technical person, I do think that this whole debate has highlighted how divisive the European Union is and the lack of solidarity. And in that respect, I think no matter what the deal is going to be, if it's 350 billion, I think the numbers now become secondary to what has been highlighted, that basically we have 27 member states, each of them with different goals. And yes, you rightly highlighted maybe some of the southern European countries would like to have more support from the northern ones, but not because we are in a worse economic situation than they are, but because the virus has hit us most. So this pandemic response is specifically tailored to the effect of the virus. And this is unusual, because now we have rich countries like my country, Italy, which has a high GDP per capita country, is a net contributor to the EU budget. For this time around, we're trying to ask to be net beneficiary. And this is a little bit new in the European Union concept, because normally the redistribution of who pays and who gets the money is based on the level of GDP per capita. This time, they're trying to introduce what is the trend, so the GDP decline. And this is hard to swallow.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the list of EU countries per capita, or GDP, nominal, or however you want to look at it, Italy is right up there. It's one of the richer countries of the European Union. But you say it's about politics. And it's been for a few months that there have been talks and even bold statements by European Union leaders saying that possibly if we don't get this right, this is going to be an indication that we as 27 member states of one singular bloc are not going to be able to move forward in the future. How much do you think that the EU itself is threatened as an entity through what's going on as an indication, as an example of what's going on in Brussels?
I want to be optimistic. I don't think this is threatening the EU existence per se, but it is highlighting how futile and sometimes not effective the EU measures can be. We have been in a health emergency since January, 6 months, and other countries have suffered. We would have liked to see this time around, finally, the European Union to take a leading role, to be faster and have measures that are effective. You know, what we'll be discussing in Brussels today, again, no matter what the numbers are, is money that will be available only from 2021. We have no idea what the world will look like in 6 or 7 months' time. So I don't think it's a survival risk for the EU, but it just highlights how weak it is. And in this interconnected world with the economy all interconnected, global supply chain, Asian countries that react very fast. We have highlighted already how the lack of speed is really seriously making it worse for the European countries. And I say this no matter what the deal is going to be tomorrow. You ask me, if the failure of the deal will highlight it, I'm afraid that these problems have already been highlighted and surfaced over the last 5 months, and even more so in the last 3 days.
Michele, how much do you know about the situation generally across Southern Europe, as you put it, not just your own country? I mean, you say the money won't be available until 2021. But if financial markets and international lenders understand that Southern European countries will eventually have access to this kind of fund, it will presumably encourage them to work with those Southern European countries. The question then becomes, what happens if Southern Europe doesn't get access to this money? What do you think might happen to Southern European countries?
I tell you, from a strictly economical point of view, not much. Let's look at the numbers. Italy probably will have a GDP decline of 13%. We are talking of more than 100 billion of GDP loss. We do every month issue of government bonds in the order of 10, 20, 30, 40 billions per month. This all recovery fund grants, I estimate, would amount to 2, 3, some people say 5 billion per year that maybe Southern European countries like Italy, Spain, and others would receive. So it is really, really marginal to the impact on the economy. I'm talking 2, 3 billions versus tens, hundreds of billions, which Italy manages to raise on its own, and so do other countries via the usual issuance of a government bond with the support of the European Central Bank. And this is really the good thing that Europe is doing. The European Central Bank is finally doing its job of a central bank that buys the government bonds of the member states. And just, the paradox is that just because the European Central Bank is doing its job, the recovery fund becomes completely marginal, in both because of its timing and because of its magnitude, that, I repeat, it is only going to be, if anything, a few billions per year, which will make absolutely no difference to the true economic stability and the future prospects of the Southern European countries. And therefore, the market was smart. They look more at what Christine Lagarde says rather than what's being said today in Brussels. Of course, politically, it could be a success. Finally, the EU increased a little bit the budget. So there will be lots of headlines that will portray this weekend as a major success. The differences between Holland and the Southern Europeans, the frugal and the Southern European countries will have come closer. So great solidarity. But in substance, we're talking about really peanuts.
Really interesting. Michele Geraci, thank you so much indeed, sir.